This is the Insta360 X4. This is a small, compact action camera that films in a 360 format so that you can go in and reframe later. Now this camera shoots up to 8K 30 frames per second, and if you want slow-mo, goes 4K up to 120 frames per second. The design of this camera is waterproof, it's got a big screen, and it's small enough to fit in your pocket so that you can always keep it on you at all times. So in this video, I'm gonna show you all the features around this camera, and I'm gonna show you a ton of footage so that you can see what this 8K footage looks like. And I wanna say a special thanks to Insta360 for sponsoring this video. So here is the new Insta360 X4, and I'm hiking out at Red Rocks above Vegas. This is like insanely beautiful out here. Found this random trail. I'm hiking towards the mountains over there, and I'm gonna go see where I end up. But I thought this would be a great way to test the X4, because for me, I'm always looking for a good action camera that could be easy to use, easy to set up, and also get a good looking image. Now, 360 has always been something that I personally enjoy using. When I've been up climbing mountains, going on adventures, I typically carry a 360 camera right here in one of these front pockets on my Shimoda backpack. And the reason for that is that I could pull this out, put it up, just like I am now, get a shot, and I don't really have to think about where the camera is pointing, and I could reframe it later in my editing software. That to me is the easiest workflow to be able to get shots when I'm outdoors doing things, adventures, or I just want that flexibility to reframe my shots later. The issue is with 360 cameras in general, they're usually not the best in terms of resolution because you're cropping in on the image. So if the camera says it's 4K, well, it's 4K for the whole image. And 360, you can see the whole area that this is capturing right here. However, this camera, because it's 8K, you have a lot more resolution to work with. So when you crop into me right here, it's gonna be better resolution than if you're shooting at 4K. Let me switch this over to 4K and let's do a side by side. So I'm gonna stand right here in the same spot, and we're gonna shoot this two different ways. 4K. This is what it looks like 4K. Here is the full width of what you're getting and when you're shooting in 360 4K. Now here's what it looks like when you're punching into a frame that I would use for my edit. And so this is not bad. It still works. 4K is all right, but when you punch in even further, just so we could see how close you get, this is the resolution when you punch in about 2 times what I would typically use. Now here is 8K. I'm in the exact same position. This is the full 360 so you can see what it looks like. Now here's cropping into that same segment of the frame. This is what it looks like. You have double the resolution than the 4K, and so it's gonna be a better looking image overall. Now let's crop in 2 times, and let's put these side by side. You can see how much of a difference you get when you have 8K and you're cropping in on that image. So I'd love to hear what you guys think down in the comments. Is this 8K image that you're seeing out of this camera really that much better than if you were using, say, 4K out of a camera? Now, there's obviously a lot of other features in the Insta360 X4 that make this a really cool camera, but for me, the biggest thing with 360 style cameras is be able to shoot, not even think about what I'm capturing, know that I have a shot in 360, and then be able to reframe that later. That's like the easiest way to operate one of these cameras, and it just gives you a lot of flexibility because, yeah, I'm using this in the vlog style and I'm hiking with it and it's just on a pole, but I can easily mount this to a bunch of different places, or I could stick this out my car window, not even think about it, and get some really cool shots in this 360 format and be able to reframe and crop it later. And it just makes the whole process so much easier. Now, if I didn't want to reframe and I just wanted a quick image to be able to pull out of this camera and start using it, well, I just switched it into what's called me mode. And so this camera can either do the 360, which is what I was showing, or you could do what's called single lens mode, where it's shooting more like an action camera. And there's this really cool mode called me mode, where I have this extended out on a pole, and it's basically capturing the image of me using the 360 sphere, but cropping in so that I have this 16:9 or 9:16 cutout that I could start using and not have to worry about reframing later. So if you are someone who doesn't want to reframe every shot, there's different modes in this camera that just use a single lens, and it acts more like an action camera, but it gives you that flexibility to put it in different ways so that you can put it out on a pole and hide the stick. And then you get the shot of like a floating camera as I walk and talk. Now, there's a lot of settings in this camera that makes it super usable for whatever you're shooting. Let me just show you the camera, how it looks, all the buttons that you have access to, and just everything you could find in this camera. So this is the Insta360 X4, and I have it on this selfie stick here. Now, when you look at the camera, you have a bigger screen than previous models, and this is great because as you're recording, you could scroll this around and see what you're doing if you're in 360. Now, if you switch it over to one of the other modes, it's just going to display everything right here on the screen. So this is just a very useful screen for how big it is, and it's a stronger screen than previous models. So there's gonna be less chance that it's gonna get damaged. And this is the main screen when you're set up to start filming. You have a record button here in the left side, and you have your mode button here on the right side. Now in 360, you have a few different modes. You have video, you have active HDR video, you have a time-lapse mode, a time shift mode, which is like a hyperlapse. You have bullet time, which gives you this crazy 360 spinning shot that you could use when you get to an epic location, and it's just kind of fun. There is a loop recording, so it could just continuously record. You have star lapse if you're at night and you want to do a time lapse with the stars. You could do a burst photo, you could do an interval photo, you could do an HDR photo, and just normal photo. And in the photo mode, you have 18 megapixels or you have 72 megapixels. And then you could change the time of how long until you take a photo. So let's switch it over to 3 seconds. Click this button, start the photo, and it's gonna take a photo, capturing. Boom, got a photo. You can see me recording this with my phone. So now I've switched over to the HDR mode for video. This goes up to 5.7K, so you don't get the full 8K, but you still get plenty of resolution to be able to crop in if you do want HDR. And so when you go into your modes, you go to single lens mode up top, and then you have video, me mode, loop recording, free frame, photo, and video. So when you go to a video mode, you could select your resolution, which is up to 4K. You could change which lens that you're gonna be filming with. And then you have some different settings. So you have D-Warp, you have action, ultra. So if you want it super wide, you put it in the action mode. Whereas if you want it more like vlog style, you put it in the D-Warp, and then you can start recording. So now I'm doing single lens mode if I wanted to just say vlog with this camera and use this as something that I don't really have to worry about reframing later, because if you do all 360 footage, it gives you tons of flexibility, but sometimes you're editing fast and you don't want to have to reframe everything because it does take more time in the editing software and it becomes a bottleneck. So for certain things that you just want, say a vlog shot, you switch it over to the single lens mode, you get it in 4K, so you get great resolution, and you could use this like a typical action camera. But in those moments where you just want to throw the camera up, grab everything because you don't know exactly where you want the camera to be at, or if you want the camera to move in the shot, then you'll use the 360 mode. So here's some footage at an abandoned water park that I went and explored with this camera. And I'm gonna take one of these 8K shots and I'm gonna start looking out in one direction. And in my editing software, I'm gonna spin it around so that you can then see me. And so this is one of those really cool features that you only get with 360, is that you can reframe and do these motions in your editing software or in the Insta360 app to be able to create some dynamic looking shots that you otherwise couldn't get, especially when you're out as a solo creator. I mean, 360 cameras are such an interesting tool for solo creators because you have that ability to do some more movements and have a camera that kind of free floats around you when you don't have someone to film you. Okay, so there's this cool mode that allows you to start recording when you're not actually near the camera. So I've turned it on. It's called gesture control. And so all I have to do is put my hand up like this and the camera's gonna start recording. Now the camera's recording over there. I'm away from the camera. You can see there's some distance and I could get my shot. So I could set up my camera for what I need, use my hand signal to be able to get the shot, whatever it is that I'm getting. And then when I'm done, I just have to go back towards the camera, do my gesture control, and then it's gonna stop recording. So if I have this, say, mounted to like the outside of my Jeep or something like that, I don't have to always go and run and click the button. As long as I'm within this distance, I can just put my hand up, start recording. It reacts super fast, get the shot, put it back up again, and it stops the shot. Now, throughout this entire video, all the footage has been super stable. And that's because Insta360 has what's called flow state stabilization, which no matter what you're doing with this camera, it's gonna stabilize the footage. And whether you're walking, running, hiking, you have it on the back of a car, you have it hanging out a window, like you're always gonna have stable footage. It's kind of like magic and you don't really think about it once you are working with a camera like this, because you just know that you're gonna get stable footage and you don't really have to worry too much about, the camera bouncing around a little bit. And this kind of comes full circle to what I was saying at the beginning of this video. When I'm working with an action camera, I want something that is small, lightweight, easy, something that I can mount, not even think too much about, and I know I'm gonna get a good shot. And so working with a 360 camera really gives you so much flexibility, and it becomes just an easy tool to be able to tell your story. Because at the end of the day, it's not about the gear. It's about how we use this gear and how this gear makes our lives easier to make the videos that we want to make. So I'd love to hear your thoughts about the X4 down below in the comments. And if you want to see any follow-up videos around this camera, please let me know. You want to see some comparisons to previous versions, or do you want to see more of a complete breakdown of how to use this camera? And also, I'll put a link down below in the description to where you can check out more information about this camera on Insta360's website. But this is a beautiful morning. I'm gonna go enjoy my time out here in the desert for a little bit. And next, you should check out this video right here, which goes through storytelling, because that is the most important thing when it comes to crafting videos that your viewers are gonna wanna actually watch. But telling stories is what's gonna bring your viewers back to watch more of your videos. See you over there.